Julia Spencer is a real estate investor with over 25 years' experience who owns multiple investment properties. She's a single mother of two who moved to the U.S. in 1993 with only $20 in her pocket. She currently holds an MBA. Julia Spencer is neither a realtor nor an attorney, and the contents of this recording are only her opinions. Get her free guide to investing at juliamspencer.com. I'm your host, Dr. Steve G. Jones, multimillionaire and hypnotherapist. My website is stevegjones.com. U.S. Real Estate Investing for Foreigners, Module 5, Investing in Las Vegas.
Hello, this is Julia M. Spencer, real estate advisor, investor, and enthusiast. And this is our module number 5 of my Foreign Investors in Real Estate program. And I wanted to use this module to discuss a little bit of the follow-on information that has come from my discussion with Petra, the foreign investor I've been talking to in the last couple of modules where we had an interview with her. Of course, Petra was trying to purchase with her husband Joe some property in Clark County, Nevada, which is where Las Vegas is located. And I had sent them on a little bit of a hunt out so they can find out about tax lien foreclosures in their area, because obviously their funds were limited. They're looking for a property within the $150K range, maybe $200K, I believe. And so I sent them out to the tax assessor's office, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what transpired since that discussion, because we've found some more information that might be useful for other investors that want to invest in that area. And this information actually is applicable to anybody else that is looking to invest in the United States. Of course, it has to be tailored to your geographical area, and it has to be, you have to do research, which is different in different states. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Nevada specifically, Clark County specifically, and also a couple of other Q's and A's on tax lien foreclosures that could be applicable to any kind of investor, whether from a foreign country or from the U.S. So after I talked to Petra, there's a couple of things that I had mentioned in the interviews that I said I would look up for her. And I've done my homework. I've done a little bit of research and poking around the internet. I've talked to some people, which is my favorite thing to do to get information. And I basically had sent them to visit with the office officials, which they had planned to do. And I will have an update of that as well. But basically, the site that I found where the sale happens is it was www.clarkcountynv.gov, and you would have to click on the departments sub menu and click on treasurer, and under the pages there should be a trustee properties auction list. And you can also just type in Clark County, Nevada real estate auction lists or tax lien foreclosures, Clark County, Nevada. But basically the basic website that I had sent them to was www.clarkcountynv.gov. And that is where the auction is posted. And in this case, because Nevada is a very specific state, it's actually a deed state. This means that unlike Georgia, the state where I live, the rules are a little bit different for Nevada. And being a deed state, the sale is a deed, it's not a lien. You don't have to wait. You're not going to get your 20% interest in investing in a tax lien like you would here in Georgia. And there's no redemption period as in Georgia. So basically, when you purchase a property at this deed sale in Nevada, you own the property outright. You don't have to wait. And that's a little bit different from what I've told her, because I've unfortunately hadn't done my homework very much, and And they were able to figure this out themselves. And I kind of hinted at the fact that every state operates a little bit differently. That's when you listen to this recording, and if you're a foreign investor or you invest in the United States, you really have to research your specific state, because the rules and laws in your state are very specific to your state. They're not going to be applicable to other states, as well as you may have specific rules in your county where you're located. Now, the bid method in Nevada, of course, is premium bid. So basically, they start bidding typically at the lien amount, which is the back taxes, the costs, the penalties, and the interest at that point. And that's your starting bid. And then you basically bid up, and whoever has the highest bid then gets the property. So that's how that works. In terms of the sale dates, it varies by county. You have to check with your county and go to the tax commissioner's office for your county. And it just basically varies. But when we looked at Clark County, where Las Vegas is located, they do it twice a year. They have one in the fall and one in the spring. This specific time, when I spoke to these investors from Luxembourg, they basically were looking, they were here, this was in the end of April, middle of May, and the sale was in the end of April. So the next sale that they have will be in November, which is almost the winter time. So twice a year. The list typically is published a month or maybe even a little bit longer beforehand, before the sale. You can also, of course, get it from the newspaper and start looking. And so basically that's how it works. Nevada is actually one of the best deed states because bidding typically starts, like I said, at the lien amount. And the tax deed sale will extinguish any other liens, such as mortgages and judgment liens, and especially any kind of assessments. For example, if the county had to come out and cut the grass of this property, and of course there's a cost associated with that, so that would be added to the lien. And I have to retract myself a little bit on this one, because the special assessments, such as the county's mowing lien, they do survive as in virtually every other state. So again, it's imperative for you to always do your research. Put your eyes on the property that you're trying to bid on before you bid on it. Don't just buy something blind or something you found online or you found a picture of and you thought, this is a good one to go with, but I really haven't done my research. So I want to know what is going on, because you want to do your research before you get into any kind of investing like that. So these people, of course, are very eager, that Petra and her husband Joe are very eager to buy property, but been waiting to purchase and to move to Las Vegas many, many years now. And again, as I've preached in other modules, and what I always say is time is really your biggest asset. You can't get yourself down by not having any money or any knowledge, because both of those things can be obtained. Time, once it's gone, it cannot be obtained. So the more time you have, the richer you are. So with these people, they've been waiting for a very long time to invest in the United States, to purchase property, or in their case, they really just want to be homeowners. And I've encouraged them to get started today, because you're losing time. That's really your biggest asset. I had recommended to them, after I've spoken to them, to keep checking often and see if anything else comes up. Whenever and also, of course, they're from a small little country in Luxembourg, and of course they have no credit here in the United States. They have no social security number that a credit could be reported under. And however, and this is where I always want to look at the entire situation and how the people are situated in their regular lives and where they're from. But they happen to come from a country that's very rich in the banking industry. Luxembourg has all of the Europeans' banks situated in the small capital, Luxembourg City. In fact, there's a street in Luxembourg in the city that's just bank after bank after bank after bank, and these are these fancy real estate buildings that are just out of this world, rich and beautiful. And the banking industry is booming. It's definitely booming in Luxembourg. So if you come from a country like that and you have maybe some credit in some other way that your credit is reported, or how banks assess whether you're creditworthy, you may be able to go to bankers there in your own country and ask them to give you a loan to invest in the United States. And you can maybe even bring up this EB-5 visa issue, saying that, hey, you're looking to become a permanent resident of the United States. You're trying to apply for this program. It's a fast-track visa process. If you're a foreign investor, you have to have at least $500K or $1 million to invest, with this bank. And if you have good credit, of course, good credit standing with banks in general in your country. The banks in Europe, especially in Luxembourg, will be very, very knowledgeable about investing in other countries. United States, of course, being one of the biggest countries to invest in, and they would maybe even be able to provide you with a loan in the United States. So you don't have to be beat down by the fact that maybe US banks won't give you a loan, but another bank in another country might. So I told them to go ahead and start looking at home to see if they can get financing. I asked them to contact me if they can't find something online, or if they want me to make some phone calls here in the United States for them. And also, of course, my favorite thing to do is research property. I like looking at property cards. I like driving to properties. I like looking. I like research. I like finding information. I love gathering information. And whenever they find something, either from a realtor or from a tax lien foreclosure list, or even a regular foreclosure, bank-owned foreclosures, I'd be more than happy to get on the phone and try to track this information down for them. Now, if you want to get on the ground level and getting this kind of support from me, you should go to my website. It's www.juliamspencer.com. I provide consulting advice. You can find that under my consulting page. I can also, of course, at your fingertips 24/7, any time of the day of the year. You can download my programs that will teach you how to do this on your own and get the advice that you need. And basically, I would be helping you to see if you can find something that you want to bid on, whether you're an investor here in the United States, or if you're a foreign investor and you're maybe a little bit remotely removed and you're not able to drive to the property and put your eyes on it, or be able to arrange for somebody to put their eyes on it. Another thing that I had suggested to these people while we were on these interviews was that there's another site that sometimes lists various properties that are going up for auction. And this site is called www.auction.com. And if you look you can actually type in residential or commercial, either one, and type in your locale, in this case, Nevada, Las Vegas, and see what properties are there. Now, those kinds of properties there that you find are in various stages. They could be pre-foreclosure. That's where the bank is maybe putting it up for sale in order to maybe find a short sale buyer. They could be post-foreclosure, where the bank already owns the property and is trying to dispose of it. And actually, some bank foreclosures, and I believe even tax lien foreclosure sales, are conducted on this site virtually. And they actually will be added there virtually, because obviously in most counties you actually have to go in person to a sale. But I've seen a lot of really good deals there. It will tell you on the site whether the property is vacant or if it's occupied. So it will tell you don't bother the inhabitants of this property, because people are obviously still living there until the legal process is all done. It tells you maybe some background. Sometimes it has pictures. It's definitely a good site to check out. Also, this is used by a lot of the bank foreclosures. In fact, the county where I live, which is Chatham County here in Georgia, when I go to the tax lien foreclosure sale, or just the foreclosure sale for the month, auction.com actually has a tent set up in front of the courthouse, and they do the auctions outside, but this is the auction house that actually runs it. They get some sort of premium for running the auction, and they're the ones that are very, they have themselves very organized. They have, the papers, the pens. They have maybe a blackboard where they write the properties because they have to clear them, obviously, the day for the sale to make sure that they're available. And those are the kinds of things that you learn from just going to the auctions as well. But auction.com is a good website to go to. I've sent Petra and Joe to this site for them to look up and see if they can find anything, because obviously they missed the spring sale, so they have to wait another 6 months before they can bid on something else. But the good thing there is that they're in Nevada in the Las Vegas market. A couple of years ago, of course, that area has experienced a very, very significant crash in terms of real estate prices, and they were very heavily affected with the mortgage crisis, lots and lots of foreclosures, lots of homeowners having to leave their properties because they had so many issues and weren't able to pay their mortgages. And so that area is still kind of recovering. There's been huge losses in property equity in that area. So the area is trying to recover. And it's a good time to get into the market there, because obviously the cycle is very cyclical in that area. It's not as stable as where I'm from. So the real estate market in Nevada, meaning is cyclical. It means when there is a crash, it's going to come up again. And eventually it's going to come down again. It's going to, and the margins of going up and down are much higher than in the stable, everyday Joe type of environment where I live here on the East Coast. So basically I explained to them that when they go to the site, it is imperative for them to do the research and ask me questions, because you may see some very cheap properties on those websites, and you might be buying the lien. You might not actually be buying the property. You might be buying the lien of the property, which gives you a right to claim the property if the lien is not paid off later on. And it's very important to know that distinction and that information, so you don't lose your money. And you don't want to, as a foreign investor especially, you don't want to lose your money that you've invested in the United States, but also you don't want to lose that dream that you have of becoming a permanent resident or having a green card. So there is another place that I had told them about of where to raise money for a down payment if they choose to go that route, because obviously the banks were asking for 40 to 50% of down payment since they're foreign investors, and they didn't have that much money to put down on properties. So they were asking me where would they go to get that kind of money, and since they don't have that money, and the banks wouldn't finance them for the rest if they don't. And I told them to go to a website, and during the interview, I hadn't had my information ready, or I couldn't think of it, but later on I was able to find the information. And basically the one website that I would check out is prosper.com. It's basically a cloud sharing financial website where people like you and I put up a certain amount of money in order to get a certain kind of return on our investment, and it could be a small amount, maybe $100, $200. And as an applicant, as an investor, you then put in your request, and you can borrow against that money from other people. So it's basically a cloud-based financing strategy for people that want to get money. It's kind of a little bit like hard money lending for real estate, and you have obviously a certain amount of time to pay this money with the interest, or give some sort of other incentive. You also have to lay out your project of what you're trying to do, and whether, and then of course you have to convince investors to make sure that your project is worthwhile and feasible. And that's a route that they can go to get the down payment if they didn't want to go with tax lien foreclosures, wait on the next sale, and instead just go with the MLS or with a realtor or whoever else or wherever else they can find a property that they want to buy. And then they would basically, borrow the money from Prosper. At the same time, would put that money down on a house down payment and get financed for the rest. So they would basically have two payments. But a lot of times financing is done that way. A lot of properties require 20% down. The way that has been done in the past is that you would get a first loan for 20% and then a second loan for 80%. And the 80% loan has the contingent that the 20% is going to be the down payment for the 80%. It could be two different banks. It could be the same bank. It's been done. I've done this before many years ago. I'm kind of out of borrowing money from banks anymore because I don't go that route anymore. But when I used to, that was one of the processes that we're working with, is when we didn't have 20% down, we would get a down payment loan to put down and then get the rest of it financed, maybe with a different bank or a different mortgage counselor or a mortgage official from a bank. So if you want to find out more information, of course, this module is very specific to Nevada because these investors were interested in that area there in Las Vegas. But if you want to get more information like this, please send me a message on my website. It's www.juliamspencer.com. Sign up for my newsletter, download any of the recordings that I have there, or schedule a private consulting session. And you can also always ask me questions in the email. It's realestate@juliamspencer.com. I look forward to hear your suggestions and comments. And when you when you register for my newsletter at that site, you also get a free guide to real estate investing. So www.juliamspencer.com, and I look forward to hear from you. Thank you.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.